So I'm working on this project right now for the company that I work for, and one of my biggest issues is getting my boss to say yes to a proposal, specifically because of money or the idea didn't land or they didn't see it as a value. And I think what I want to try to do with this video is to walk you through what I'm doing and provide just some helpful insights so that if you're working on a project like this where you need to get approval from your boss or from an executive, that you have some tangible steps for how to make that happen. And also, I apologize because I never wear glasses on videos and my hair is a mess. So ignore that for now, and we are going to jump into the video. Okay, so the first thing I want to do in order to get my boss to say yes to my idea is I want to make sure that I'm gathering the right information. So the vendor that we want to work with, I actually went through their website, pulled out some of the key data points. I got the pricing list, and I got some other information about the ROI that they provide for other organizations. One of the things that you want to do in this phase is to make sure that you do your research. And this will help you present a well-informed argument as to why this will benefit you or your team or the company and help solidify the decision-making process. Okay, so for your idea to be viable, you're going to need some of these items: the required costs and where the money will come from, the expected time frame and potential timeline, how this new idea will benefit the company, what resources you need to make it happen, and the potential risks and ways to mitigate them. So what I'm looking at now is this company offers a lot of services that will benefit our department specifically, but I need to figure out what specifically is going to work best for my supervisor, because if I'm presenting information that my supervisor doesn't care about, then that won't be helpful for me, and it won't really, my project will be dead on arrival. Once you have the research items done, you want to make sure that you tailor your pitch to whoever you're actually presenting to. Every pitch is different and every executive style is equally as different. So you want to make sure that when you're presenting to whether it's your boss or to an executive or to a management board, that you can position your message in a way that resonates with them. If you don't know them very well, that's okay. You can still kind of assume some things just based on executive presence or based on how your organization runs. So here are some things to consider when you're tailoring your pitch for your specific stakeholder. What are their needs? What challenges could this idea help resolve? How will it benefit the company? Are there any potential risks? And how can you minimize them? Now, I feel pretty comfortable with where I am in terms of the research and the information that I've gathered for this specific project. I've taken all of that information and I've put it into a PowerPoint presentation. That's how we deliver our pitches, is via PowerPoint. So I've taken that information, I've moved it over, and one of the things that I realized I was missing was how I want to frame it to my supervisor. So there's such a thing as positive framing and negative framing, and maybe you've heard of these. Positive framing focuses on solutions. Negative framing focuses on problems or their possible negative outcomes. And framing is important when you look at your presentation because you need to choose, do you want to frame your presentation in a positive light? Is this something that's going to be a solution to the company? Or do you want to frame it in a negative light? This is something that we need to mitigate as a potential problem. How do you figure out which one to choose? If you're proposing something that will bring more revenue or cost savings, use positive framing to emphasize the possible gains. On the other hand, if you need to convince your boss of a new policy or process, try negative framing to focus on the risks associated with not doing it. So what I decided to do from this project standpoint is I want to create a positive spin on it. So instead of saying, this is something that's going to cost us money and we're not going to get anything out of it, I want to say this is how it's going to make us money, it's how it's going to save us money, and how it's going to enable our team to feel more empowered. So that's the approach that I'm taking for this specific project. Now I'm going through the company's website and I've already talked to their representatives about the type of evidence or the type of data that I need to be collecting or the type of data that I can use to frame it in a positive way. Depending on the framing that you're choosing, it's going to influence the type of evidence that you get. You could do customer testimonials, industry trends, how other organizations are doing it, or you could use internal company data like lawsuit information if you're trying to frame it in a negative way. But you want to make sure that you have some numbers or some data that you can use when it comes to backing up your evidence. If your boss isn't necessarily as data focused, you don't have to focus solely on the data, but having that evidence or having that backup to back up the framing that you choose is going to be really important. And also in this phrase, you want to make sure that you're prepared to answer any questions. So you want to make sure that you can think of the questions ahead of time, figure out what the solutions are or the answers are to those potential problems or potential questions, and have those responses prepared before you actually do your presentation. Typical questions that you can expect: how will this help our business? Have you conducted any research or surveys to back up your proposal? What resources do we need to implement this idea? Are there any risks associated with this proposal? And how much time and money will this require for this project? Okay, so I've done my research, I've collected my information, and I figured out the framing. And now that I have all of this information, we're entering phase 3. So when I was an undergrad getting my bachelor's degree, one of the things that they always taught us was you want to make sure that you know 99% of the story in order to tell 10% of it. So in this instance, I've collected about 99%. I've collected as much information as I can, and I'm putting this narrative together from a standpoint of cost effectiveness and helping out our operations. So our organization doesn't have the best structure when it comes to like SOPs or project kind of workflows. So this system is going to really help us. And that's one of the things that I put into this narrative is kind of picture what it's like now, picture kind of this like crazy tangled mess of like Christmas lights, and picture what it would look like if everything was organized and streamlined. So that's how I'm going to position the story that I'm telling in the PowerPoint. And in your instance, if you're doing it via Word document or Excel, you want to make sure that you know the story that you're telling and then catering it to the people that you're telling it to. So what is your story? What is the narrative that you're trying to tell with your specific piece? What is the 99% of that story that you need to know in order to convey that point when you're presenting? What other cost-saving measures has the company taken that's been effective? What things has the company not done that has prevented the company from saving money? Is your company in a position where they need to be saving money right now? That kind of 99% of knowing the story before you're able to tell it is critically important. And one of the things you also want to do in this kind of phase is that you always present a yes scenario. You always want to make sure that you're presenting or asking questions that leads to a yes. Do you want to save money? Yes. Do you want to have more efficiency in your business? Yes. If you can start injecting questions or thought exercises into your proposal and make those questions the ones that you can get a yes to, people are going to be more likely to buy into your story. And I don't know why this works, but it's a sales technique where if you can get people to start saying yes, they become more on board with your idea, with your proposal, with whatever you're trying to sell. So I finished the presentation and I am scheduling a meeting with my supervisor to meet with him, I think tomorrow or the next day, I don't really know. By the time you see this video, the meeting will have already been done. But I wanted to introduce the last phase, which is take the win. So the one thing that happens in our company, either you get a yes immediately and then you have a specific action items that you follow, or they say not quite, or they give you a no and you have to repitch in some other capacity. So, and the thing that I always get caught up, me personally, and maybe you're the same way, is if I present and I get overly excited to be able to tell the story that I'm trying to tell. But then once you get a yes, so they say, you know, I'm presenting, I do all this stuff, they say yes, and then I go, okay, I'm gonna keep talking and try to oversell. So don't do that, but you wanna take the win when you can. You don't wanna oversell your idea. Now, it is possible that they say no and you might have to repitch, but if you get a yes the first time, stop talking and say, okay, great, here are my next steps. You don't need to sell anymore. If you do get a no and you have to repitch, here are the things that you want to think about. You want to make sure that you listen to the feedback, address the issues that they raise, improve your presentation for the next time around, and repitch and be persistent. And then start figuring out how you want to implement it. So in this specific instance, I already know what my follow-up actions are and I already have them ready. So when I'm meeting with my boss and he says, hey, we need to have, you know, such and such things done, you got a yes, but we need to do A, B, and C. I already have those things queued up. So when the meeting is over, I can just push send on all of the emails that I need to push send on and get those really moving in a faster way. Once you get the yes, you want to make sure that you can say immediately, great, thank you so much. Here are our next steps, 1, 2, 3. And make sure that you identify who is going to do them and who is not. The final message that I have for you is taking your ideas and actually implementing them or making them a reality is not as difficult as you might think it is. How can you position your solution or your idea in a way that's more sellable, even if you're not a salesperson? I'm not a salesperson. But how can you sell your idea in a way that gets other people excited? And if this presentation went really well and you're wondering, am I ready for that promotion? Check out this video that I have just for you. I'll see you on the next one.